Yeah, it's wordy. So what I said is, let me just give you the essences of what's important. And this that I just talked to you about will be on page. And then I'm going to tell you my crazy idea before we start on page. Okay, so the selfic technologies are all on page 55, 56. Yeah, 55 to 56, we get a good introduction to the selfic technology. And I reference the pages where there you find more information in the books, but we'll read it together. We'll read it together. So this chapter, before I start, does anybody else want? So I wanted just to say that. So these are. So this one would have.
Alessandra,
Yep.
sorry, did you say hello? And did you say page 55? That's the universe and the threshold.
No, Bella, it's did you guys get my notes from yesterday? The attachment?
Yes.
Yeah. It's page 177 and 178 and
No, not the book, my notes.
Yeah,
the
page 177.
Yeah.
Ah, shoot. Oh, right. No, how come you guys have... Wait, say that again.
You mentioned page 55, 56. I think it was just a mistake.
No, oh, right, because you don't have it. I have my original copy from all the pages I put together, but it's okay. So from so from your pages is if you go to the third page, the second page, the second page I gave you.
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. You know the notes I gave you. You know the notes that I gave you.
Okay.
It's the second page of the notes I gave you.
Okay.
We're there.
It says technology.
Yeah.
Selfic technology is all there. I summarized it there. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah. So we're going to go through this. And I think if we go through it with my notes, you guys can help me. We'll make corrections and stuff. And then we can reference to the book. But in the book, it was very wordy. And I think if we just instead of doing the Q&As, I'll go, we'll just read it together and we'll have some fun and we'll ask questions as we go. Does that sound good? Now, one of my ideas as I was putting this together, so the first part of this chapter, the chapter is broken up, and I'll tell you, the chapter is broken up. I'll just start it. Magic, technology, and the main tools for magic. So this book is about reviewing all the magic that Damanhur is based on. And we're going to talk about traditional magical things and technologies and instruments. Technologies. This is and an instrument. Technologies and instruments. Damanhur style, but also they touch on some, at the beginning we touch on esoteric magic teachings from millennia as well. So the chapter is going to talk about that, the main technology and tools for magic, because in the previous chapters with the synchronic lines and with the extraction of energy, we learned what vital units were. Remember, the vital units is what we use in energy. They don't use, oil and gas, or, they use vital units. Remember, that's the method of gathering energy for magical operations. And you're going to want to learn why we need to do magical operations. It's very important. So now we get to know what the technologies are. So the chapter is made up of 3 sections. The first one talks about the magic formulas, which is the old known alchemy idea. What is alchemy? The alchemist that mix together substances to create something different. Then the second part of the chapter is on technologies, and they talk a lot about Selfica. That's the main technology that they use in Damanhur. And the Selfica, I didn't know this till I reread this, is like I said, it's a being that's coming from another dimension. And according to the laws, everything that we are experiencing here is from the human primordial divinity. Well, guess what? Selfica is not part of the human primordial divinity. So it's coming, it's an agreement. It could be another divinity. You know, that you remember Coyote said we are the fourth, but it's possible they're all happening at the same time. It's just here on the plane. It's possible that some have finished their game, some are still in the game, but it could all be happening at the same time. So this is some other creature that's not connected to the human primordial divinity. That's really big. That's actually really a big thing. And then this is where when I was doing the notes the other day, and I was listing all the instruments and the tools, and they really are fun, even though they're very wordy. There's about 18 different instruments and tools that they use. And the only reason why I really want to go through them with you in point forms, we don't have to understand them, is you will see that Damanhur is very coherent in everything that they do. Like the things that they do all have meanings. Like they are following these esoteric, like when Coyote said in the class, 500,000 years ago, we were quite evolved. We were sharing our souls with other species because everybody was working on, divinizing the matter. So everybody was collaborating together, and we had all these faculties and all this, this knowledge. And I lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I went right out the door, but it was good. And wait, what was the point? What was the point behind that? Yeah, so it's important. So in those times, these technologies would have been part of our everyday education, right? Like we would have just known how the world works. So it's almost like experiencing them and learning about them brings our state back to where we might have been 500,000 years ago, because somewhere inside of us we have that knowledge. We just have to wake up. And then the other thing that was coming to me as I was, I read what the instrument did, and I would take my notes, and I thought of the missing archetypes. And I'll tell you in what context. And I don't know if you guys will remember, but it was in the spiritual physics books, I just don't know where they talked about magical instruments having functions that we used to have before we were lobotomized. And so we use now instruments. You guys remember that at some point, like reading something like that? And vaguely, right? And so when I was looking at it, and there's 18 different tools and instruments that they talk about. And I think the missing archetypes are close to that number. I don't know if we have the number. And so I was sitting there going, because I was looking at all of them, and I'm like, I wonder, they say that the missing archetype might be hidden in the knowledge of the alchemist in creating these mystical creatures that help with creating these energetic mystical creatures called chimeras. We're going to talk about them. And it's hidden in their symbols or pictures. Maybe the archetypes are hidden in there. And then when I was doing the notes for these instruments and tools, this thing was nagging me, and I was like, I'm wondering if in these pages are the clues to the missing archetypes. Not so much in, what these magical instruments do, but in the kind of action they have. And maybe there's a connection. Anyways, it was just something to put out, because I believe that it's a coded book. I think there's a lot of stuff in here. I think it's a fractal, right, of the whole. And so, anyways, and some of you know, I don't know anything about archetypes, but I know that Elizabeth, you mentioned it. So you guys, so anyways, I just wanted to put it out there. So I got a little bit more excited about no, we got to do this because like maybe something will come, especially since we're all, anyway, so just a different kind of, like, you know, why are we reading this? Why are we going through this? Like, we're never going to use these technologies, but it's good to know. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's something there that's connected to something that might wake up some neurons or light up some neurons. What do you think? You like that, huh? You like that. So that's the story. Okay. Do you guys want me to read the notes, or do you guys want to read the notes? Want me to read the notes? I'll read the notes. I'll read the notes. Okay. Duncan, you want to read them? No. No. Do you want to read my notes, or should I read the notes?
You want me to read your notes? Okay.
Okay, just to make a different voice, you know?
Sure. Any particular accent? No, we won't get into that.
No, you can. Go for it, because, hey, I might cut it and put it in the podcast.
No, that's okay. So we're talking using magic formulas.
Yeah, magic technologies and the main tools for magic.
Okay. Alchemy is the basis of all magic. It's the chemistry of magic. Simply, it's combining elements so you can produce more complex ones, page 177. The main difference with classical chemistry, in alchemy, the substance you create can't be reproduced exactly the same because the ingredients are being affected by the subtle difference, i.e. the time of day, the cycle of the moon. So when you make it, you make sure you make enough to keep it, page 178. All chemical substances are very delicate and modifiable, i.e. if you hold them or speak to them,
They change.
they can change, yes.
So it's not like a recipe when you're baking bread and you follow step by step by step by step and you always get the same loaf of bread. No, it's going to change. It's going to change. So alchemy is a little bit trickier. Okay.
And alchemy is made up of 3 branches defined by the substance used. There's alchemy of inanimate forces, alchemy of living forces, and alchemy of metal or time alchemy.
Yes.
Did you want to go through that now, or you want me to keep reading? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going. Unless you have a question, Eva. Does anybody have a question?
No.
No. Okay.
The alchemy of inanimate forces. Inanimate forces are the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These forces are the first things that the derivative laws manifested. Working with them means learning how to work with the laws. What we learn from this is that each object is made up of a different blend of the derivative laws.
And that's the alchemy of old traditions, right? The magicians of the old times, right? They would know how to use these. And when sometimes they mention elements, they don't actually mean, in many instances, the actual element itself. It's the energy of that element. So when so that's also important in the world of ingredients for alchemy. It's not necessarily the actual word that sometimes it's just the extraction of energy from it. And they have rituals and ways to do that. So you guys can go to the page numbers after. Sorry, Duncan, if you want to elaborate on some of those, but this distills it a little bit so it's not so wordy.
So the alchemy of living forces. We are learning to manipulate energy of living forms and manipulating the energy they are producing. The energy comes from their emotions, feelings, and the 163 base elements of the primeval divinity. Also, animal energy is used. This type of magic is at the heart of theurgic magic, which means magic with divine assistance. Medieval tradition of chimeras is what this is called. Chimera is, am I pronouncing that right? Chimera?
Yeah, chimera.
Yeah. Is what we make when we manipulate these forces. They can be animal or human. Human can express free will and deviate from their program. So formulas for these were written in medieval grimoires.
Yeah, I guess it's like a memoir. Yeah, yeah.
A really sad and grim and depressing memoir? Is that what it's a grimoire?
You know what?
It's a book, like when I take magic from that 22 teachings, we have a notebook that we call a grimoire. And we write all the formulas down and everything in the grimoire.
But it is, you're right, it is not a nice word. It's grim, like grim, grimoire. Because it sounds, you know, like macabre, you know. But okay, but that was a medieval time, so hey, it's appropriate.
Where they speak of part animal tales, which never meant the actual animal, but the energetic quality. Extracted from rituals using the law of correspondence and synchronicity, chimeras become true living creatures and can be programmed to perform specific functions. Forms between the human and the divine forms.
So what this level of alchemy did, it seemed that it was producing these chimeras, these actual forms that you can program to do specific functions. My understanding is that in the alchemy school, they teach you how to create chimeras. And so it's possible. There's specific ways to do it, and it's a combination of all these things. Yeah. Any questions, you guys? It's pretty, is it clear? It's pretty, yeah. Well, not clear, we're gonna go out and make them tomorrow, but clear, like, okay, we have an idea of what we are talking about. Okay, go ahead, Duncan.
So the knowledge of the archetype is said to have been hidden from the enemy in animal parts. Maybe the symbolic knowledge of the chimeras could lead us to the lost archetypes. Can I just stop for a second? I know this is a silly question, but archetype, that word throws me. It's just something that is created and that we kind of follow through time, or what is an archetype? Is it a series of thoughts, or what is it?
I'm going to, I don't know outside of spiritual physics, but if somebody wants to Google it, while I give you, remember in the first paragraphs, chapters of the book, sorry guys, I've got Sunday barking, just give her a moment, she'll settle down. They talked about the demiurge. Let me just go to settle her down. So can somebody look up archetypes so we can get a nice definition? Yeah. Keep it. So in the role of,
You go. Coyote was saying, or was it Crotolo, that they're archangels too. Kind of blended them together, and of course we've lost them due to our lobotomization.
Say that again, Lina?
The archetypes, it was Crotolo or Coyote was saying that they were also the archangels.
Oh, they're also in the archangels.
They are the archangels. So completely new concept for me. Yeah.
That must have been, it wasn't in the 163 element course because I would have remembered that. So it must be Crotolo in one of his lectures.
And that they were, we lost them from our DNA. I remember that. It's not in our DNA because of the losses we had with the enemy.
Right, they lobotomized us, so they took them out.
So
the DNA.
It says that in literature, an archetype is a typical character, an action, or a situation that seems to represent universal patterns of human nature. An archetype, also known as universal symbol, may be a character or a theme, a symbol, or even a setting. They were talking about mother,
The role of the mother.
the role of the mother.
Right. So
we have, I understand that we go through many archetypes when we come here, when we come into this world. So I guess it's different I don't want to say personality, but different characters, maybe?
Well, it's like the categories. It's like the categories, but maybe this is something we rotate around. We can take on different personas of these.
Well, there's the hero, the mother, the innocent youth. I'm going by what it says here. The mentor, the doppelganger. What's that?
That means you're double.
Oh,
Doppelganger.
doppelganger.
Mm-hmm.
The scapegoat, the villain, the journey, the initiation, good versus evil, the fall, and then it goes into the function of each archetype.
Sorry to throw that out there. I think I opened a can of worms.
No, because
We got to try and
well,
crystallize it somehow. It means a lot of different things, that's for sure.
Well, it depends on the role that you're playing, I guess.
Well, I think you said it. I think it defines a particular way of behavior for somebody. The giver, the mother, we all know what a mother looks like. You don't even have to explain it. So it's I guess a concept that holds a way of being. And so that sounds like it's an archetype for me as a simple version. In the spiritual physics book, when we were doing the first stages of where matter is created, remember that demiurge that comes out from the world of ideas, it takes the idea and it needs to be perceived in order to be maintained in the world of idea and become an archetype. So in the spiritual physics book, what you had in the word of archetype was a book is an archetype. Books, well, maybe today they look a little bit different, but a book is a book. It's known as, this is when you say book, everybody will know what that means, what it's going to feel like. So maybe it's a way to hold information in a coded way for everybody to have the same meaning. I don't know, something. There, that's it, my 2 cents worth. But this is important because of what I want us to explore these technologies after with this in mind. Could what this technology help us do be an archetype we've lost? Is it a function we used to have that we've lost? Anyways, that's just what I wanted to share. But that's me late at night making notes, all kinds of ideas pop in. Okay, Duncan, do you want to keep going? Or does somebody else want to? You want to keep going? Keep going. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Sexual energy is also very important and is beyond the sexual act, as it can be expressed in a creative art project.
Yeah, and I think that's anything that really takes all of our attention, especially in a creative way, is accessing this energy. So, and it's very potent. It's one of the most potent energies we can express. Okay, so that takes care. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And now the last one, the last alchemy.
The alchemy of metals, or time alchemy. The name of metal here is a metaphor, since metals take a long time to become metals. So this type of alchemy plays with the time packets and law of synchronicity correspondence to perform its operations. For example, to create the triad unification of the divine forces, work was done on the time packets and using correspondence to do the work needed.
Do you guys remember what correspondence is? So remember, under the law of synchronicity, we had to take apart this cause and effect of things and say, forget that, because events are all on a string, and something that's happening across the world will have an impact on you today. Now, if you can rise above the plane of time, you can see that line of synchronicity. So you can see that moving that stone is going to make this man open the car door. So that's what they mean when they're doing that. So if they can see the correspondence between the objects in that field, then they know what object to move in this 66-year time packet to impact the time packet three down, because they can see the string. And then they know that if they pull that, well, it's going to change all of that. Is that's simplified? It's good. Okay. Okay. The next, so that takes care of alchemy. Alchemy was, you know, the magical history, things. It's alchemy. We've heard about it through myths. And then some of us that study esoteric teachings have also heard it in other schools. So that's all the formulas for alchemy and of magic. It's covered in this alchemy piece. So that's the important things to know. When I ask for a course for us for alchemy, I'm going to ask about the chimeras. First, can they give us a really good introduction into magic, because I think we have to be more familiar with the laws around it. And then chimeras are one of the things that would be fun to learn, to see how we could use and work with creating these energies that could work with us and help us and things like that. So that was one of the things. And now we go into the technology of Selfica. Who wants to read the technology of Selfica? Okay, Lena. So to Lena. Lena, I want to thank you for the notes. It was really interesting because I had some difficulties with the Zoom call at times and I was in and out. And I translate from Coyote's notes and you translate from her notes. So it was really cool to bring them together because sometimes they told a different picture and I was like, oh.
Yeah. And I type like this because it keeps my mind focused.
Mm-hmm.
Periods of the 3 hours where I start to float off, but I keep typing, I stay in the present. So
thank you. I wanted to thank you for that.
But I did not clean them up. It was just verbatim, and sometimes the conversation.
They were perfect. They were perfect. I took all your questions because I hadn't written those down, and thank you, really. It was really nice. Nice to have them. Grazie mille.
Thank you. I also did Crotolo this on Sunday. So
yeah, I got those too. Thank you.
No, I don't think I sent you this week's.
Oh, you have to send me that.
Yes.
I'm going to listen to them. But not now. I'm going to go in later and listen to them.
It takes so much to take those hours and listen,
Yeah, no, not now. No, too many
always
things.
more coming.
Yeah, and it's good. Listen, it's good. We're all getting a good dose of this, but I need to also, I'm saturated after a little bit and I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want my weekends back.
Give
me Sundays back.
Yes.
So, Selfic technologies, Selfica. This technology operates with 9 basic elements. The 5 elements, air, water, earth, fire, and ether, and plus 4 more. Velocity, non-substance, substance, emotions, and time.
Now, non-substance was one of the things we talked about in the energy chapter, and it's that mist that is above the earth that you can see, and in very pristine areas, it can get very thick, and you can use it. And it is some kind of plasma that allows things to manifest. Like if you think of a gnome, you could see it because it's this substance that's above the earth. So I know, isn't it cool? Like it's so fun. Okay, keep going, Bella.
Here we are summoning creatures called selves from another dimension. Their universe is faster than light universe, and it's parallel to ours. And because of the luminous speed of their universe, when they perceive events that haven't taken place yet. A self can interact with an unsaturated event and manipulate it by either making it happen sooner, not at all, or move it completely somewhere else.
That's pretty cool. So these little guys are pretty cool.
Yeah. I worked with mine today. I have an objective or an intention, And I guess my question is, I don't know, I don't think it tells us here, but do we talk to them? Do we ask them things?
Listen, you can, whatever resonates with you. I have to tell you, I feel this one like if it's a force beside me. Like this thing is, my still self is like unbelievable. Like I can feel it, like it wants to move. I can feel it go inside my body. The spirit self, I have a little bit of a different feeling, but it feels for me, it's not I do talk to it, but I feel more than in communication. Like I understand, they open doors. So I think you have to find your way with this selfica. And if talking to it is your entry, talk to it. I think everybody's different. Cindy, Eva, do you want to comment? Because you each have some.
I'm not having much luck yet.
Okay, full disclosure. Cindy,
So Stanella's personal self talked to her about me. I was having a really, really bad day a couple of months ago, and Stanella told me her personal self told her that I was having a bad day. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, so they can be information. They can hide them. Fascinating. I'm working with my spiritual self more for something that I want to manifest, not only for me, but also for my daughter. And the more I visualize it, I'm working with it every day with a visualization. It's very interesting. You know, when I visualize it, and it almost feels like I'm fine tuning a camera, and all of a sudden it goes click. And then it's only 30 seconds, but I can feel like I've done something. That's
Wow.
okay. It's like I fine-tuned that vision, and somehow the way I feel and what I visualized felt like there was a flow. I've also sent homeopathic remedies to people using the spiritual self. So can you give them this remedy, you know, because they don't have it, or, you know, it's like, okay, just send them this remedy. And yeah, it usually, yeah, it's fun. It's cool. So yes, you can communicate any way you want.
Today I was using the pendulum to communicate yes and no kind of questions.
Oh, and?
It was very responsive. It was like, yes. For others. So yeah, I think we just want a dialogue. And then I think once we establish it, then, I mean, I don't know where they're from. Like hopefully they're not the enemy.
No. They're an ally. They're an ally. I've always been. The book talks about that, treaties that we've made with this other species for a long time. Guys, all of these ideas could help us in our imagination recreate who we were pre-lobotomization. The fact that we can communicate with another being in so many different ways can, you know, maybe we don't get the full organs back, but we can build the etheric containers of that. Just like somebody with an amputation, you know, sometimes they still feel the invisible arm or whatever. So yeah, it's good. It's good to play.
Let me carry on.
Yes.
They can't use their bodies here. They're just energy. So we have created structures to house them. Different structures for the different functions they will have. They're made of different species with different levels of complexity. So they have different functions and structures to house them. Are we talking different races or?
Yeah. So almost just like us here on the planet, you've got Asians, you know, Africans, Jamaicans, you know, St. Lucians, like, yeah. So yes, the same thing within their race and their species.
So selves are birthed here by a ritual once the structure to house it is made.
Yeah, so they do a ritual to bring them in once they've built the container.
They're made of, this has all been possible because due to an alliance made in the past with esoteric magical traditions. These creatures are not part of the human primordial divinity.
No, which is unusual, usually, like, because we're supposed to only have things that are made by the human primordial divinity. So it is an anomaly to be able to bring in this species. That's why they say it's, you know, an old treaty that was made way back, probably pre-Atlantis, or, yeah.
So it's our free will to, do we direct them to our uses, what we want to do, or do we let them do what they want to do?
They are contained, they are programmed. So that's the self-fixed structures, limit them, give them a function. They give them a whole house, but they also give them a function of what they can do. So they are held within the function of the instrument that's been created. They can't deviate from it. When I made my spiral self, I had to give them the things I wanted help with, and I had a guideline of what I could ask for. So they're limited to their action, yet their action is always in the realm of time. They bring into you the most beneficial events possible, because by nature they're able to they can see beyond the time. So yours has a specific function, and you have to know the function. Okay, you know what I'm going to ask? I am going to ask Rondine to come on a call as well and do a little explanation, and we can ask her about Selfica.
So do I need to intuit the function of my little guy?
Do you know what yours is? The function? No, you know nothing.
Helen, nothing. Let's put it.
Okay.
Joy. It's for joy. Hers is for joy.
Okay, so can you show it? So it's
I'll go get mine.
And it's the same, right?
Yeah, I'll go get mine.
It's gonna enhance joy. It's gonna bring more joy into your life. So if there's two events that are going to happen and one's gonna be like optimum joy, it's gonna choose the optimum joy. It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful.
I like the
Yeah, very, very nice.
So does it live in there? The self lives in there?
Yeah, the energy comes in and that it lives there. If you don't use it, they move. Is it the same? It is the same. Yeah, it's a little different.
This is purple.
Hers is kind of unscrewed, I think. Like,
oh, should I bring it up?
It should be in a circle.
No, I think it's different, Bella. Oh, you think? Oh, is it? It's not as tall as yours.
No, hers, do you see hers is bent out of shape?
Yeah, I'm not supposed, I don't know how they should look, so.
Yeah, she's touching it and bending it. It's supposed to be a straight back and then a spiral.
Oh, wow.
Oh, maybe in the travel.
Yeah, it came in a box. Helen didn't know.
Yeah. It still works. Don't worry. It still works.
Yeah.
So it's for joy. So to bring in more joy, my dear.
Joy.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's
So far, so good.
The first time.
Like this one is for negative energy. You shoot it out the door or out the window. So I have it behind my computer.
Oh, nice. Bella, how did you bring that home in a big box?
They give you boxes.
Yeah, because I would be afraid
It got
of
cracked though. The glass got cracked. So I'm gonna bring it and they're gonna fix it
for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Va bene.
Wonderful.
Then.
So let me just find where we are. So these creatures are not part, Atlantis, Egyptians, and Sumerians may also have worked with them.
Yeah, there's evidence in some of
Do we have examples from them, or do they show up somewhere in the archaeology?
No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard also from Rondine. I don't know, and it's also in the book, so I don't know if they have this in some texts, but they didn't give examples of it. I might be able to ask Rondine.
So we have two categories of selfic structures. We have the personal selves, and they have therapeutic events and need to be in the aura.
Yeah.
Elemental ones.
Environmental ones.
Environmental for house and car. So selves used in the field of magic and are much more complex. So my little guy is what?
He would be for the environment. No, it would be personal, right? Because joy is personal, but it could also be environment.
I think it's an environment one.
Okay, it's an environment.
If you go on the Select website, you can see it and they'll tell you what each one is.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So up to now, these structures we have talked about are the ones that all of us can have, you know. Now we're going to go into the more magical parts of the selfic structures. And as we go further with the tools of magic, we'll realize what kind of operations they're doing. It really opens your brain up to new ways of thinking about technology, energy, esoteric things. And you realize that there is a physics going on up there as well. It's very precise, very precise. Okay, Lina, continue on.
Building selfic structures. The first structures were built using plants. Today's metals and to even water and salt.
Yeah, so this is a little bit more generic. So the first selfic structures were using live objects. And then it seemed like that's what the selves needed in order to get comfortable with what they were doing. And then they moved to metals and crystals and other structures. So I know it's a little bit cryptic notes, but you're doing great, Lina.
The spiral patterns are used so the selves get wrapped around the structure. We have two-dimensional circuits, hand-drawn in layers with alchemical ink. Wow.
Yeah, they're used. So they can bring them also into the paintings. And if you look at the spheral, it's all circuits in there.
Lena, do you see it in yours? It's right here.
Yeah, I see there's triangles and.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, yeah.
And for the other of you, and on my spiral self, I think this one is. Look at the ink at the top. Look at all the circuits. You can see the ink colors, or if it's all blurred.
Is it on the light blue, just on the sphere right on the top, Alessandra?
Yeah, there's blue, there's yellow colors, and also some gold up there.
You know, as technology goes, I've never seen anything like it. It's all completely new, this stuff.
Right, but somewhere deep down in that soul of yours, there's an aha moment. There's a little thing going click somewhere deep there inside.
Yeah. This is an example of one that's also on the website. And this is something I wear on my wrist for creativity. But there was another one they had there that looked identical, except the crystal was clear. And that was to combat shyness. But the rest of it looked identical except for the crystal.
Yeah, so the different shapes.
But there's a spiral, almost all of them have combinations or at least one or more spirals in different spots and all kinds of things.
I have the immunity one, and it has been changing shape over when I wear it. Like, yeah, you know how they say it changes shape when you wear it? I've noticed.
That's what Rondine said. Rondine said it will change shape.
Yeah.
Oh, as it starts to work with you.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, beautiful. We're getting to know a new creature.
Mm.
We're making contact.
So we have two-dimensional circuits. No, spiral patterns are used for the cells get wrapped up around the structure. We have two-dimensional circuits, yes, sand drawn in layers, both the alchemical ink. There's personal selves, synchronic to protect, access to spherical operations. They allow you to get information on the time matrices and the laws. Can you explain that?
Yes. So these personal selves that they make, like I said to you guys, there's different layers of them. I got this one because I wanted to be able to be anywhere and be able to orient trees just by touching them. So they put a circuit here that would allow the self to have that function. These are also used for the ones that manage the temple and that are doing magical operations. So they program them with different layers, more evolved and intricate layers, so that they can work on the synchronic lines and doing spherical operation. What they do in the Hall of Spheres in Damanhur, and I'm gonna get the picture so you can see it, because I think it would be good to have a visual. And this is what I say to you guys, in doing these notes and doing this book club with you, I'm realizing everything they do in Damanhur has a meaning. They don't do anything for just fun. Like everything is very specific. So this is the Hall of Mirrors, of the Hall of Spheres. And I'm gonna see if you can see them. Hold on. So you can see the spheres. Those spheres are made with alchemical liquids. I'm going to learn about the liquids. They also have all these sulfic circuits, and they allow them to be able, with the spheres, because they're technologies contained in, it's at the heart of the temple, protected, it's all gold leafed, so that it doesn't have any interferences from outside. It's got the greatest connection to synchronic lines, synchronic energy. And with the ones that work on the spheres, sending messages into the synchronic lines, use these sulfic structures made with more advanced layers than the ones that we're wearing for personal use, so that they can say, we want peace in the world, we want this in the world, and they're piercing through the spheres with all the technologies in there to put these ideas into the synchronic lines. Because remember, the synchronic line, anything that gets put in there gets amplified. The example of the yellow piano that they were playing in Damanhur, and then 2 days later it's on national TV, somebody's playing on a big yellow piano on a music festival. So that's, yes.
Did you see the celebration yesterday, Damanhur New Year?
No, Baila.
Oh my God. It was definitely an operation yesterday. This laser light show with the sacred language, music, and pumping it into the sky. And then they had an art show, and I think they called it the Battle Art Show. So they have been really doing an operation for what's going on, and their celebration yesterday was amazing. Asperides put it on Instagram, and it was on Facebook too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
Where on Instagram? Where could I find it?
Asperides.
Oh, please spell that.
Yeah, let me find her.
So you can be sure that they did that, and all the energy that went into creating that got captured somewhere as vital units used for magical operations. So they know how to capture everything they make and do, and that kind of creative expression, and maintain that as energy that they can use for magical operation. Because to be able to take the self and send a message into the synchronic lines, you're going to need a power source, vital units. So that's what they use, all this energy that they accumulate for, so that they can send those messages.
It's the full moon tonight.
Yes, it is, eh?
Yes,
Wow.
yeah. Pisces, I think.
It's in Pisces.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, full moon. Woo! Yay.
Yes, around 1:30, I think, at night. Don't.
Yeah.
That. Did you, Cynthia? Did you?
I put it in the chat. That's her Instagram name.
Great. Archetype.
Okay.
The spirit is. Okay, let me carry on so we can get this done tonight.
Yeah.
Full moon. That full moon.
You want to get prepared for your full moon.
In my bed, sleeping.
Yeah. So did you understand the fact of how it interacts with time by manipulating the unsaturated events? That you understand now because you've heard those words before. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so the ark, I think that's where we are.
Yeah.
Ark, emet, sarcophagus. These are uses in theurgic magical operations. Shiro self.
Spiral self, yeah.
Oh, Sphero self combines selfic and spheres technology to transmit information
This one.
long distances.
So you know what? That's the sphere, and that's the body of it. So that's what, when you're talking, that's what a spheral self is.
Does yours have a specific function?
Yeah. I've got, I could choose from a list, and then I could add my own. And if it was in line with what these structures are made for, then it was something I could program into it. So yes, it's got a specific program. You have to think about it a little bit, and then you give them what they want it to do, and they design it accordingly for that function. Yeah.
They're able to transmit their functions to distant places, and they can be used singularly or combined. They can call and insert micro-attractors and concatenators.
Yes.
A little bit on that one, perhaps, Alessandra? That's
yes.
big
So
there.
So micro attractors are, remember, we have these attractors that come from the real that make up everything here. We have the attractors that gather the soul together. That's one level of attractors. The next level are the macro attractors, and they are the ones that build our organs. So in everything that we have in our body, we have a macro attractor. They're below the level of an attractor that's made for the soul, and they're just below that as far as their complexity. So it's called the macro attractors. They're used in healing, because if you insert an extra power of energy where you have an ache, you're going to give it more capacity to heal. So macro attractors are used a lot for healing, but they're also used for magical operations. So it's calling in an attractor where necessarily it wouldn't be. So it's giving you an extra dose of the real to help you. Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on.
It's not a living creature. It's an intelligence, a semi-living intelligent device. Okay. Semi-living. Let me carry on, since she wrote this, she knows this stuff. So crystal selves use crystal as a physical support. They use the geometric properties, which is carrying on with crystal selves.
Yeah, so this is just to give you, beyond the spheral self, I've never seen them, because I think they use them for their maternal magical operations. So just to give you how far you can go with with spiroselves. I did want to say two things about the spiroself. The concatenation is a technology. We're going to go a little bit more in depth with it. Concatenation is something that they discovered by chance when they were combining certain energy elements, and then they put them in water and something happened. It's almost like by putting them in this, with this other element, which they call the concatenator, all of a sudden that connection between all those elements became more pure and more potent. And all of a sudden, instead of having energy output of 100, they got energy output of 1,000. So it was, they called it, it was really something they were not expecting. And that has made a big difference for them over the years to do many of the magical operations, because all of a sudden they had access to large amount of energy they never thought possible. So concatenation is in that, that's what it means. So these spiroselves that I can have here at home are also combined to make much more complex structures that can do all of these things, where they're calling in micro attractors when you're using the cabins that are full of these guys. And then they're used in magical operations where they need to increase energy to do something. And we'll see all the magical kind of things that they do. Now, the thing that was also, yes?
This has a crystal in the center.
And
could that be a crystal one? It has micro drawings on the crystal.
Oh, what is that one, Cindy?
This is for meditation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Bella, I think these crystal selves they're used for time travel. I think they're bigger. I think they're bigger operations. But what you have there is a smaller version, but using crystals with lines. Yeah. I think, yeah, that would be the same. Probably a smaller, a more personal version versus something they use, for the bigger operations. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about the spiroself, which is interesting, they're not a living creature. It's not like the selves that house our other selfic structure. It's almost like it's an intelligence. It's a device. So that was a little bit interesting, because I always felt my stela self, like I can feel her. I've always had a harder time with the spiro self, because it's more of an intelligence, a conscious, an awareness. So it's just, that's important to note. Okay, that's the difference between this and other selfic structures. Mm. It doesn't mean that they don't have a living form, but they're different. They're still alive, but they're different. They're different than what we're used to when we talk. Probably like a really good AI machine. I don't know if I'm insulting it. Yeah, if I'm insulting it, I'm so sorry. Okay, so go ahead.
So the crystals are physical support, and they're used as memory holders. They're advanced and used in major magical operations, particularly time travel, to orient themselves to time-space crystal.
Yeah, they use these special crystals to orient them when they're doing time travel. So they're really very, very powerful crystals.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there's liquid structures, which are selfic units created at an atomic level. Invisible and microscopic, and can be built inside our bodies. Using concatenators, they orient them. What does that mean, Alessandra?
So I have been told that when you go into the cabin, the healing cabin, the big cabin that is filled with these, you have them in front of you, ahead of you, you go right under them. These are calling in all these micro attractors so that they can place them in your body. They use that concatenation device technology so that they can go deeper into the body easier. And it's It sounds like it's. So that I understood. And the other part about microscopic, I think they can probably build these circuits etherically as well in the big spheres that they're using. I probably in us as well. So they probably have ways to build these circuits inside of ourselves as well, so that we can be connected with these creatures.
But can we trust them? Are they are our friends?
Yeah. We can trust them. They can't. That's why they're programmed. They can go astray. I have had somebody there that shared with me that he woke up one day and his self was charred, like burnt. And it's like, I think I got an attack that the self took from me because it killed the self.
Mm.
Yeah, so he had to go get a new, and he goes, I never had that. Like, he was totally fine, but he woke up and his self had totally, and he hadn't done anything different. It's like it must have taken yes, Cindy.
Danella's has holes in it. Hers saved her from a few car accidents and stuff, and it's got holes in it. She has to get it repaired.
Yeah. So sometimes they take our blows.
Wow. So cosmic spindles use this.
Yes, and we're going to learn what a cosmic spindle is.
Now or later?
No, later. It's a little bit later.
Okay. So before this, the sphere cells in this circuit needed to be moved manually. Now with concatenation, they no longer need to be.
So it's basically structures like this, but at a very larger scale. So they're using these, and I think in some of the, to generate energy and to be able, because remember, they have split the plane of time. They need energy to keep that split. They did the operation where they combined all the divine forces. They needed a lot of energy to be able to do that as well. Plus all the other things that they're doing, we'll go on and we'll see. So these structures help them to enhance all these magical operations that they are doing. And the concatenation, once again, it's a way to amplify what's possible, because it sort of magnetizes all the elements put together in a more precise way, so that you have a pure connection and a greater output of energy. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay.
Someone else want to start with magical tools?
So now we've done, so the first was, what are the magical recipes? We had the alchemy, then what is some of the technologies? Selfica is a big technology. And now what are the tools and instruments? And this is where I thought maybe in here are some of the traits of these lost archetypes that we can, when we discuss some of these magical tools, what is their function that they're doing, that maybe that was part of a function we had that we lost, part of an archetype. I was thinking about it in that way. So when we're going through them, yeah, that was sort of my idea. Does somebody want to read magical tools? This is the first paragraph, is just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. And then there's the 18 different magical tools.
I can read.
Okay, go, Shanna.
Magical tools and instruments are objects that have undergone alchemical treatments. They contain vital units. They carry out a specific function. They have a selfic element. They are considered to be alive because their level of complexity is extremely high. They have their own intelligence, which compensates for any human error. They're activated by the will of the operator. They are anomalous objects linked to the time they were created and used by specific age groups. These are tools used by priests, magicians, to manipulate, move, or transport energy, and to open and close contact to higher forces.
Beautiful. So that's what these magical tools and instruments are. And these are some that we don't see too much out, when they're selling to people, but these are tools that they are using to maintain and do the magical operations they need to do. Why Damanhur was set up, why the temple was made. So this is the 18 different magical tools. And that's where I thought, let's keep going, Shanna.
Tracers. Tracers activate circuits of magical figures. They send a current of vital units. The circuits are carrying out various functions such as isolate, contain, open contacts to other dimensions, unite, divide, and more. Something night flag.
Yeah, these are two instruments, two tracers, I think that they mentioned in the book. And so the tracers are, and we'll see, they use them to activate, if they're going to use a circuit, because they want to, do an operation, they use the tracers to activate them because it gives them energy. So the tracer is not the end tool, it's a tool that starts something. But it can also have enough power to open things and close. But yes, Cindy.
When we had the solstice, was that the stick that was drawn the hexagram before? It was Falco's stick?
It could be a tracer.
And they use it to make the circle and then cut the opening in the circle to let people in and then close it up.
That could be exactly what the tracer is. Yeah, that could be a tracer. What did it look like? It was just a stick?
It's beautiful. It's like a big one. Shanna and I saw it. We remember in Stanella's video she gave me?
Oh, vaguely. Memory.
Remember I said, there's Falco's stick. They laid it on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, that could be a trace. That could be a tracer.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. That could be a tracer. Yeah.
Right. It can be big.
It was big. And then he made the circle with it.
Yeah, it could be a tracer. Yeah.
But they had those in the ceremony when we were there, the solstice ceremony.
Yes.
When the celebration, they had more than one of those sticks.
Yeah, so possibly to do this kind of activation with them.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Tracers can activate or deactivate. Yeah. Projectors, like the name says, they project energy. Is that IE, like sun?
Yeah.
Sutin, spheres, mirror.
They're just another form, but they didn't give much information on them. That's all they said. So I bet you the Hall of Mirrors is a big projector. Because it's a big hall of mirrors, huh?
Containers and transformers. The chalice, related to the function of the Grail. They transform divine energy. Multiplier also belongs here.
And multiplier is just another technology, but they're containers. Basically containers for big energy. That's all that they do. Okay. And transformer, they transform divine energy. Okay.
Transferring devices. They transport energy from one place to another, like wands. Then we have all of the following. Arcus, a semi-divinity. It hosts portions of divine forces. Emmet is used in the triad operation. Concatenator.
Concatenator. Very good. Concatenators.
Water instrument. Opens new theurgic energy possibilities.
Yeah, and these are just the 3 different devices they talked about and what they do. Like I said, we might never see them, but it's interesting to see what they do.
Magic books. This is not the literal sense of a book. It's more a container that manipulates energy. Magic books do not exist because magical knowledge can't be transmitted in written form.
Isn't that cool?
That's really interesting. Only through words, art, and architecture. They carry vital units, i.e. artistic projects.
So the Temple of Humankind, it's a huge artistic project. It tells the story of humanity. Like there's, yeah, it's like you start to make like nothing, they're following this book to the T.
Except it's not a book, right?
It's not a book. No, it's a temple.
Oh, the sphere, yes, I know what you're saying. Spheres are with alchemical liquids used for projections and making connections to various energies, i.e. sending messages to synchronic lines. In the oracle setting, used for contact with oracle forces. And they also open windows into time. For example, sphero balls. What are sphero balls?
I think I don't think I've ever seen one. They are used for time. I think it's for big operations. So I believe that it's like a sphere, but probably bigger than what we
Sorry,
have.
I keep interrupting. I just keep remembering things. But
No, remember.
Remember our driver, Giro?
Yes.
He told me, I asked him if he did time travel, and he said he was part of time travel, but his job was the sphere. He would look into the sphere and make sure everything was going according to plan. And then he would, protect the operation. He could see it in the sphere.
So that's probably what he was doing. He was probably using the spheral cells. I don't think we have them here as their own technology.
Oh, what is that, Cindy? What do you think he was like seeing? Like, was he literally?
It was like a crystal ball, he said. It was like a sphere, and it had alchemic stuff. So he could actually see them at Atlantis walking this way, and he could say, oh, they're missing the portal or whatever. He could relay back to the people if they were if they were in trouble.
The real images he was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, magical stuff.
Okay.
Magic. Yes, Lena.
They must have had a communication device.
Right?
Yes, there are. Wait till we go through them. Guys, I'm telling you, I think the archetypes are hidden in these, like what these instruments do. Some are containers, some are transmitters, some are mirrors. Like it's
I think you're right.
There's something here. Like when I was doing this, I was like, and you know, like at 12 o'clock at night, you have to be a little bit crazy to start deciphering this. And I couldn't put it down. And I was like, wait. And I was like, oh my, and I'm like, okay, I'm just writing it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just writing it.
Well, they're hidden. They are hidden.
They're hidden, but look at the functions. Look at the functions. So we have a projector. We have a tracer, which defines what is it doing? It's giving energy. We have something that helps to transfer, to transmute. We have knowledge. Anyways, it's something that needs to be elaborated, but I want to, at some point, I'm going to bring it up, but I wanted to put it here for size, and then we can play with them.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Mezi?
Yes.
Vehicles that are two-dimensional design activated by tracers for non-physical travel, i.e. subtle body. They enter and travel on the synchronic lines through a special window. They need several people to operate, also used for time travel.
So this could be maybe in combination. Mezzi in Italian is a translation of buses, if you want, transportation. So maybe, Cindy, this was also what he was talking about, because there's a few people here that need to work with them as they travel through time. So it's another technology probably they use with the spheres. Yeah. Okay. Keep going, my dear.
Selfic cabins, part selfic, part electromagnetic, able to manipulate mass, energy of form, space-time travel, also therapeutic. Call and insert macro attractors.
Oh, not macro. Sorry, guys. Micro. Sorry, it's micro. Because the macro are for the divine forces, and this is micro. The self-fixed structures that they talk about and the micro are the third level. The base is the micro, the little one that's in the building block of matter, and then the second layer is the macro. So it's good for the body for cellular regeneration thing.
Psycho-elaborators. Complex structures, various installation work together. The underground temple is an example. Using all the selfic and spherical installation in cabins. Acts like a psychic computer connected to someone's brain, allowing them to compute things that would otherwise not be possible, i.e. time travel, point of arrival, time matrix.
Remember the algorithms of the laws? If we know the algorithm of the laws, we can manipulate them, but to be able to compute that information, they use these psycho-elaborators. Stick that on your brain.
I do that actually, where they were coming up with those mathematic.
Oh God. Okay.
Mission to Atlantis to transport data and receive the response. Use torsic knot and an anomalous object.
So the torsic knot is a very important knot where two lines meet, which is where Damanhur is, because when you access that line, you have a lot more power and energy. And the anomalous objects are those objects. They can be like a pen, but remember, every object has a good has all the different laws represented in it. But the anomalous objects, for whatever reason, have a misbalance of those laws, and they might only carry the synchronic law. So all of a sudden, they're an anomaly, but they're very powerful because of that anomaly, and they use them in psycho-elaborators because they contain a lot of energetic charge because of that aspect. And once when they do the psycho-elaborators, they can only use them once. Like the anomalous object will be fried after the computation. There'll be nothing left because it takes up so much energy. So to do these computations takes a great amount of energy. So it gives you an idea of what's possible.
So who's doing all of these, amazing projects,
All of them. They're all magicians. All of them. I mean, there's not many of them, and look at all the stuff they have to do. So they get, yeah.
It's scheduled, like we're doing a big mission tomorrow night, everybody comes together, blah, blah, blah.
That's the different teams. So they have their normal life that we see day to day, and then they have the weird ones when they go off into the temple. And then there's another one that I heard where they go and get inhabited by aliens. So they walk around with an alien for a little bit so that they can have an experience.
Well, doesn't Bertolo have an alien or something? Did I hear?
Oh, it's possible. Probably possible.
Mary told me that from Boulder, actually. She said Yeah.
He walks around with it. I'm not surprised. Yes. A lot of, yeah. So they're really magical. They're not your ordinary folks.
Yeah.
They're not just kumbaya, they're doing a lot more.
No, I know. I mean, yeah, they're saving the world, man.
Well, one, I'm sure there's a few of them, but this one is doing something pretty epic. Yeah. Now the next one is so fun. Okay, this one is fun. This is for Duncan and Elizabeth. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, neutral chambers, isolation from the symmetry line. Useful to see if events changed in time travel operation actually had an effect. Example, buy 2 history books. One goes in the chamber, one stays outside. After the operation, you compare the book in the chamber, isolated from the effects of time, and the book that would have been affected, and compare. Wow.
So if they want to go back in time and do a time travel operation, so they can come back and say nothing happened because everything would have had, the soul atom would have modified everything. So they isolate something in this chamber. So whatever stays in that chamber stays exactly the way it was, and then they buy two similar books. They leave one in the chamber and one outside. So when they come back for the time operation, they're like, did anything change? They look at the book, I can't tell. But the only way to tell is, let's take the book that was kept isolated and compare, and then they see that rock we moved, look, it changed, you know. Yeah, so the book might, yeah, it's, yeah.
That's cool.
So,
Wow.
isn't that cool? Isn't that cool?
Wow. It's also monitoring the separation of the planes using other neutral chambers in time. With the help of spherical systems, the separation is maintained. Twice we had gotten close, in 1983 and 1999.
So there is an example in the book where they have neutral chambers in multiple points in time, and they can communicate and watch how close the planes of time are getting, and then they try to keep them separate. So a lot of energy, once again, is needed for these kinds of operations. So that's a neutral chamber.
Wow. Space monuments. Astral structures built over a long period of time whose function is to preserve all the information of a civilization and being able to send it into time. So this information can be used by the civilization in which it lands in, if they know how to download the database. In 1992, a space monument built by the Atlanteans was retrieved with valuable information still used today.
And they are working right now on sending a space monument 600 years out in the future, because that's when the timelines is the dangerous part. So they're preparing a launch to send that out. And once again, that takes a lot of energy, right? So that's what that is. Yeah, and you guys thought it was good organic food.
So you're saying in 1992, a monument built by the Atlantean was retrieved.
So the
Valuable
Atlantean.
information still used today.
Yeah, what is that?
But it was my understanding that when you went through time, at least from here, one, you can't take anything with you, so that's why you go naked, or your clothes disappear. I don't know what happens to your clothes, but anyway, you go naked, and you can't bring anything back, so that's why Falco took the artist to remember everything, so he could come back and paint it. So how could they actually retrieve something? Or
because it's not a time travel operation. It's not a time travel operation where they are going into time, which is exactly what you described. This is something they put in the sphere of time. It's a satellite. Think of a satellite like we have here. They put it in the sphere of time and send it into the sphere of time and say, okay, go land in 30,000 years from now. Go land in this. I don't know if they're precise on where it goes, but it's different than time travel. We're not going backwards in time. This is the sphere of time is huge, right? There's past, present, and future on it. Time island. Atlantis is on a time island, but it's still on the sphere. So it sent in the sphere, in the universe, in the galaxy of time, a satellite to be picked up by somebody along the way, a long time. And so it's not time travel. It's a monument that was sent out into the sphere of time. Does that make sense, Duncan?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know about this space monument? Like, what does it look like? How did they retrieve it? And what valuable information are we still using?
Yeah. What's the info?
Yeah, like guys, that came from the book. I don't know, but we can ask Coyote. We can ask Coyote.
One line in the book.
Okay, that's a great question for Coyote.
Okay.
Question. What was retrieved?
What's the valuable information we still use
What
today?
are we still using today? Okay, we got it. Then the next one. Keep going, Shanna. Do you want to do it? Now, guys, it is 8:30 and we still have, do you guys want to finish them or you guys want to go? I don't want to put you guys out. We probably would need another half hour, 20, I don't know. No, maybe 15 minutes, 20, 15 minutes.
I have something else at 9, but I can go till then. So.
Are you guys okay, Lena?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Mantric and divination. Mantric arts are tarot, 7 stones, and the Book of Synchronicity. This reads the synchronic sign at the time of reading. Divination is a more powerful system for investigating time. It uses divine forces and magical technology. The oracle can be used for individual, collective implication, or for humanity in general.
So this is just the divination arts we know, the mantric cards, and then you have the oracle like they use in Memphis, I guess, in Greece. The oracles where they would worship to the divine forces for guidance. So that's what this technology is.
Spirals and charged up figures. Spirals permit the fabric of space-time to be manipulated. They are charged with vital units and do the various functions. Simple ones, like walking the spirals, increase perception, reactivate memories, or tap into past lives. In the operation to perforate the synchronic line back in 1990, this kind of spiral was used. The second one is charged up figures. They're made up of different geometric shapes that can work alone or together. When charged, they can be used for isolating spaces, contain energy, open or close passages to other dimensions, break forces down into smaller parts, or transform energy.
Beautiful. Guys, I'm going to mute myself because I keep hearing this sound in the background. Okay. Okay, no, now it's better. Okay, va bene. Keep going, my dear.
Recent technology, using micro-attractors, this absolute intelligence to heal. This involves attracting the micro-attractor and programming it. Step 1. Falco created a primordial liquid containing the steps that create life, so it could attract. Micro-attractor can now be programmed. You need to do that so it doesn't decide to do its own thing. Celtic devices are used to do this. And micro-attractors have the capacity to heal the problem that arises from the programming. It now can impact one molecule at a time, so it moves slowly. To speed this up, they're grouped more together. Steloself works on microlines, adding micro-attractors.
These little guys, that's what they do. They're putting little micro attractors. Like this is the power of, I love this little guy. I love this little guy. It's so magical. It's a buddy.
Micro-attractor has 3 different functions. First one is natural micro-attractors gathered by Viaggio. Technical journey, traveling 250 kilometers?
Yes.
Single micro-attractor in its unaltered natural state. It's able to heal instantaneously, used in critical cases due to cost.
Because so when they're going on a trip like that, they're generating, energy, I guess, as all of them coming together. So they're able to capture these attractors in their purest form. And they don't modify them, so they're very potent. So while the Steloself could heal you, but because it's going to do one molecule at a time, it's going to take trillions of molecules right in your body. But this one is a much more natural form of the micro-attractor, so it can move much more quickly and doesn't have, it just has a greater capacity. But it means they have to move a mass of people for 250 kilometers to generate or attract it and gather that energy. It's like, so all these buses they have is for these operations, so they can go get micro-attractors.
Interesting.
It's easier.
Wow. Artificial micro-attractors, i.e. the Steloself.
Yeah, what we discussed, yeah.
And And neutral microattractor are byproducts of gathering natural attractors but have no intelligence. They can be programmed, and they are used for research with time seed.
So they're the byproduct when they're going on a viaggio to get an actual natural micro attractor. They had all these excess micro attractors that we saw, and they were empty, but they could be programmed. So they're not as powerful, but we can use them for research, where you don't mind wasting them because they're available. You know, kind of not that you waste them, but they're not as potent but they're still useful. So that's the difference.
Concatenation. Discovered by chance in 1998 and took energy conductivity to a whole new level. This phenomenon atomically aligned and held molecules together as if held by a magnet, making conductor circuit more efficient and stronger and able to travel greater distances. Helped in reaching synchronic energy deep in the planet and in the universe. Used in freeing the synchronic lines in the triad, can create an artificial minor line for 20 minutes so you can enter or extract from the synchronic lines. More benefits of concatenation.
There's just a whole list of them. I didn't want to. Yes, Lena.
Please, a brief definition of concatenation.
What is it? So they were working, putting together some different objects, and they were putting them in water. And then all of a sudden they saw these filaments of energy in the water that pull the objects closer together. And all of a sudden it's almost like a click. You know, when you have two magnets and they click and the force just binds them together? What happened in that click is they got charges of energy that were way more potent than they thought possible. So all of a sudden they said, okay, wait, there's something in this instrument that we're using. Maybe we can use this when we need to amplify the energy to penetrate a synchronic line that's deep in the earth. And they started to realize that they could use it for that. So it seems like it's an added element that allows, when it's used with other structures, it magnetizes them so they're more charged and more potent, and then they align better with greater ease. And what's the best way that I can describe it? They're putting, they grab things together in the right exact order they need to be in to work optimally. And so there's no guesswork, and what they output is greater than what they were doing without this structure. They describe it more not as an actual, they described it in water. So I don't know if it's an element of water that they use when they've got all these structures together, or if they hold it in a wand, or if they hold it in some kind of tracers, and then they have that capacity inside, and all of a sudden the tracer was giving a bit of energy, but now that you've got this added tool added to it, all of a sudden it amplifies it 1,000-fold. So it is a circuit, it is a tool. What it looks like, I don't know. It's not described in a way that I could understand it, but it is something that amplifies everything else that it puts together with it, and it is used to gather energy.
Yeah, my sense is it's like magnetism is a law of science, another law.
Yeah.
Which seems to be unique. Like, I'm trying to correlate to what I already know.
It's very unique because on its own you would never see it, but all of a sudden in this kind of environment, all of a sudden it creates a click with everything else around it. It's almost like it orients everything else in a more precise harmony, so that it's working more efficiently, because all of a sudden it knows how to orient everything just right to itself with this magnetic pull. So you could be all, doing your thing, and then you have one of these devices inside, and all of a sudden you're going to know exactly what you need to do because it's aligned you in a kind of way. Yeah, that's the way that they describe it. And they saw it in the water, in filaments of water. When they were working with different technologies, they could see that something was happening, and that there was tension in the water, and that it was creating an energy. Yeah. So is that a little bit better? Or I'm giving a few, yes, Cindy, go ahead.
There's a series of interconnected or interdependent things or events as a definition.
Say that again.
A series of interconnected or interdependent things or events. The state of being concatenated, connection as in a chain.
Yeah, that's what it does. But it's not individually, it's with the different elements that they're playing with. This particular element makes a huge difference. When you mix it in with the others, all of a sudden they all work better. That's the best way to describe what it does. As far as what it looks like, it doesn't say that I could see anywhere in there. It's almost like a function, more of a... Okay, now you got me curious. Okay, I'll find out a little bit more next time.
We can ask Crotolo or Coyote.
Coyote.
Throw that question at them, see what they do with it.
Yes.
Okay, cosmic spindles. This is a large structure using large stones, menhirs, at the Baita temple, used to extract energy, pure energy from the sun, and others. Energy from the sun is the purest and can be turned into many different energies, so it's very valuable. Built to have a permanent connection to the sun, moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. The energy is then wrapped around the stone, just like a spindle with a thread. With concatenation technology, this energy extraction was taken to new heights. They were able to reach synchronic energy deep in the earth, which is more potent, able to reach telluric energy, forces of the underground, and able to reach time energy and work with time vegetation. What's time vegetation?
The time are the creatures in the sphere of time with the little time vegetation. Remember, there's creatures in there that look just like our natural world. Yeah, they're little cute creatures, and they can help us, and we can work with them. And there's a course where you can have a little time seed inside. It's really cute. I had it, and it's fun.
Oh my god, I love it.
Where is the Baeta temple?
Okay, well, guys, on the main grounds, the big stones?
Where?
On the main ground where we were, the big stones where we did the art project? There were the big stones.
The big red one.
Yeah, is it
Oh,
there?
okay.
Is it there? Is that the Baita?
No idea.
Okay, I don't know, guys. I don't think I've ever been. I
Okay,
don't know
but
if
it's in Damanhur though.
Yeah, it's in that.
Oh, okay.
And you need the big stones. So that's why I thought it was there. It was like they gathered the energy there, but maybe it's somewhere else. I thought it was right there besides where we did our clay, our sculpting on the outside. But we'll see. Concatenation. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, where are we now? Okay, there's 3 left, guys. We're almost done. Go, Shanna. Want to finish?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Synchronic lines Where they are born, you have the purest energy. There are 4 points in the galaxy. The sun is the closest. Energy extracted from here has all energy potential available to it. The energy extracted from here is the purest, since it hasn't gone through any modifications. Time seeds, like plant seeds, are to plants, time seed are to time. Time vegetation that can modify the plain fabric of time. They can be used for large structures of technology, and for personal use, such as past events, can help transform the memory. Future events can program future events, and creating a new time trial, duration of 15 days. Gives one an opportunity to try something out.
So can you believe it? If you're not sure if going down one path is going to work for you, you go and do a time seed and leave that time branch for a little bit. Yes, Lena, Lena's having a hard time.
Can we like elaborate that? Could you just, how do we use this?
Houston, I have a problem.
I can
Okay.
program future events. Tell me
So-
how to do this with the time seeds.
So they use the course that I took, we modified past events. And what they did is they used the spiral cell and these seeds of time that they have germinating. And they program it with the spiral cell to be able to be in your body, to take you back to a moment in time in your past. And then what you do is that event you cannot change, but what you can change is change the way you interpret that event.
Yeah.
And so you work with the time seed, and that time seed gives you more access to that moment in time. My experience from having done the courses, I felt like I had like an inner therapist working with me, like just creating space for that time.
Yeah.
And then you can work on it. And for the future, it's the same. You can send it. Now I haven't done it, but I would assume it's the same. You program it with a spiral self, and you set it out in time, probably still within you, and then it's projecting an outcome that you want. And so it is holding space in the fabric of time for that. And once again, it's probably like the one that we did modifying our past. We are visualizing with its help what we want this to look like and everything else that branches off from that new event we want to bring in our life. So you're doing with a creature that can go out into that field and start creating more weight on the time fabric for that event.
Yep.
Is that okay? Okay. And then time satellite.
Time satellites. These satellites are exploring the territory of time, specifically the next 600 years, helping us to map the best route, time trials to take, also saturating events as they go. So we have already events taking place on those time trials, so they are the ones we take. To launch these, you need energy collected by cosmic spindles. The launch pad for these satellites was built in 2003.
So to remember, we have 600 years that we have to try and stay off the old branch. We've got a new timeline. So they're using these time satellites out there to make sure that they are seeing what are the best time directions for time trials. Remember, we always have these different choices that we can go, which they light up the path and say, okay, if we want to, the further we want to stay, these are the better choices for us to make. So they'll go on that time branch and saturate a few events so it has more weight. So when we get there, we can follow that one more easily, almost like they're carving out the train tracks that they want us to follow. So they're actual satellites that send into the time sphere, and they use energy to do that. So all of this to say, dear friends, that it's not just a temple and nice organic food. It's Star Wars manifesting at its best.
I don't have know how they have time to do anything else. It seems really
They don't have time for anything else. They are working full time. And that's why some of the young people run away, because they're like, are you crazy?
Hmm.
It's like, no, I don't think so. So they definitely need help. Listen, this book was written 15 years ago. I can imagine that probably not as much, but I'm sure they have evolved a lot of these things, but they're the basis. And the concatenation was one of these things. You know what? I'm gonna do a little bit more understanding of the concatenation. I'm gonna read it and see if I can give you a little bit of more information on that next time. Beautiful, we did great. Oh my God, you guys were stellar. Stellar. How's your brains?
Well, it's a lot, you know, that every sentence